Welcome to the season premiere of Brothers Talking, a monthly program that will bring a cross-generational group of Black men together, creating a safe and brave space for honest, fearless discussion about the issues and challenges and fears faced by Black men. The goal of Brothers Talking is to amplify and explore the lived experiences of Black men, the pain, joy, success, failure, and the resulting opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Over the next several months, nonprofit CEO Jeffrey Beckham, Pastor Dr. Aaron J. McLeod, Director of Government Affairs Melville Nickerson, and entrepreneur Josh Sanders will join me on this film journey of conversation and community, self-awareness and self-actualization. This month, the brothers and I gathered at Muse Coffee Studio in the Tri-Taylor Westside community to share space and together unpack the topic of mental health and emotional literacy. Mental health isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival tool, and yet far too many Black men suffer in silence. According to the National Alliance of Mental Illness, only 1 in 3 Black adults who need mental health care receive it. And for Black men, the stigma is even greater. The pressure to be tough often stands in the way of seeking help or even admitting we're struggling. Tonight we break that silence. What does healing look like when you spent years in survival mode? Over the next hour, the brothers and I talk about therapy, self-awareness, and how we break generational cycles of silence.
So I'm Jeff Beckham, CEO of Chicago Scholars, co-CEO of Reach Pathways. I always say a Southside kid, born with 2 parents from Chicago, believer in all things tech, faith, family, and art.
Love it, love it. How about you?
My name is Melville Nickerson, Director of Government Affairs for NRG, publicly traded company. I handle state government affairs and policy development for my company in 5 states: Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Michigan. Chicago born.
Awesome, awesome. Sir?
I'm Josh Sanders, President and owner of Onyx Adjusting and Consulting, leading public adjusting firm here in Chicago. Not from Chicago, born and raised in Dalton, Illinois. Father of 2 little ones, and then I have another 3rd one that's in college. And beautiful wife at home who's also a member of CPD.
Awesome, awesome. Sir?
Aaron McLeod, managing and founding attorney of McLeod Legal Advisors. We focus on estate planning, asset protection, real estate, and business services. I'm also the pastor of Lula B. Sherman United Methodist Church in Evanston, Illinois. We're over 100 years old, founded by an African-American woman who organized domestic workers on the North Shore to come together and worship in the afternoon.
Awesome.
I'm Gregory Smith.
And I'm Darius Silman.
On the next Petty and Profound, we'll take a closer look at what happens when reality TV becomes reality.
We'll also pull back the curtains on the super spreading and uber contagious personality type, the energy vampire.
Tune in Wednesday at 7 p.m. on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app.
Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
On the next episode of Chicago Newsroom 2.0, host Andy Zopp, co-host Dr. Suzette McKinney, and our panel of experts tackle political upheaval rocking Cook County, budget battles dividing City Council, Northwestern's leadership changes, and CPS's declining enrollment. Tune in Thursday, September 18th at 7 p.m. Watch it on CAN TV 19, cantv.org, or on the CAN TV Plus app. Hyperlocal news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
Well, fellas, I want you to call the first time you realized that your mental health needed attention, and tell me how you responded.
Man, that's a tough question. I'd probably say at the start of the pandemic, you know, I was going through a breakup. I had just taken on this new role as CEO of Chicago Scholars, and the world around me felt like it was cracking.
Yeah.
Of course, with George Floyd, I live in Bronzeville, so the riots taking place were literally on my street. And I think just the culmination of hearing the sirens, hearing the unrest, helped me realize that like I wasn't at rest either.
Sure.
And I started going to therapy at that point in time. And I remember telling my dad about that, which was funny. He was like, well, you know you're okay, right? And I remember telling him, I'm like, I am, Dad, but just like I have a trainer, our mental health needs a trainer too. And after I came back to him with some of the things that I learned and being able to like couple that with the faith element, faith is such a huge part of my family, I was able to share with him some of the observations and learnings I had.
Sure.
I think my first experience with acknowledging I had a mental health crisis and also seeking professional help was when I was going through my divorce. Really challenging time because, no one gets married planning to get a divorce.
Right.
And also, as a man of God with strong faith, it's not something that was an easy process or decision. But I'm thankful that I was able to get some guidance and some support.
I'll also share, but I'll let you all jump in first if you want.
Okay. So for me, mine happened at a really young age. At 19, I found out I was going to be a dad. Away at college, and at that point, I didn't really have any challenges or mental health issues, but in that moment when I found out I was going to be a father, this anxiety came over me. And I remember just thinking, nobody knew about it, but I felt like everybody was judging me no matter what. And in that time, that was when because again, no adversity in real life. I come from a great family, great household, so I didn't have any real adversity until that moment. And in that moment, I honestly didn't know how to handle it, who to go to, who to confide in. Luckily, I still have my parents, and I was able to confide in them. But to feel alone and to not understand where I was going to go, and to have made a grown man decision with little boy resources was a big blow for me.
What about you?
For me, it was in graduate school, ordained clergy, and I was looking to go through the ordination process, and I'd take a psychological battery. At the same time, going through a divorce as well, and then having to do some counseling around that. So trying to be professionally fit to serve in ministry, but also trying to navigate my own sense of value and worth, and the negative depictions of that. Navigating that split was hard, but there are resources available, and I recognize that the things that I was going through, other people had met.
I'll tell you, when you just said that, I now know how old I am, because I remember how old we were when we met.
Yes.
And I remember that whole situation. For me, I would say it was post-divorce. I think while I was going through, and I had a pretty tumultuous divorce, I think you all know that, I was just in mode of, I just want as much time with my daughter as possible. So I wanted to make sure that she was good. But what I realized is that became my scapegoat. People say, hey, how you doing? Charlie's doing great, man. Considering everything, she's doing good, But it was never really about me. And I allowed myself to pour into her in a way that people patted me on the back for being this great dad. And I prayed that I continue to be, but I wasn't working on myself. So like you, it was a breakup during the pandemic, and it was not a particularly amicable breakup. And I just realized that I just had some unresolved issues that I needed to address. And so I started to seek therapy as well. I had a woman therapist who would often miss appointments. So that triggered all the abandonment, issues that I had from growing up and otherwise. And so, I'm in a better place now, but I also realized that there are levels. And so I needed a prescription. And I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm a drug addict, to actually go out and seek a prescription. And it was my father, who's the most non-judgmental person on planet Earth, who was like, if you need that tool, use it. And it actually became a situation where my daughter knows what my prescription is. She can tell when I stopped taking it, because I thought that was okay. And when I had to switch prescriptions, so that's my story. So I've been, on this path for a little while now, and glad that I recognized the need for it. But I think part of what we didn't discuss is how being a Black male plays into this. right? And so we're talking about when we first, may have realized that we needed some help, but just how does being a Black male and the messages that you received growing up directly or indirectly affect what it means to express emotion?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start.
Sure. Anyone can jump in.
I mean, I think first and foremost, there is a stereotype, a trope, if you will, that African American men, Black men are incredibly strong, and we are. We're strong like a rock, and so we don't need to express pain, sorrow, hurt, to talk about our depression, to talk, quite frankly, about our mood swings at times. And I think, for a long time, because I'm older, but let's just put it to you like this: prior to the pandemic, I think it was unpopular to think about as a Black man seeking counseling. And I think the negative stereotype around that would be that somehow you're broken and you failed, when those resources are there to help you put back together, to understand negative thought patterns and negative habits so that you can break those cycles.
What kind of messaging do you feel like you received just kind of as a child and through the years about expressing emotion?
One of the things that I think is key is that most of us are taught to persevere. And in that persevering, we are not taught to process exactly what's going on. So we're not allowed to, understand what the emotion is. If you're having a bad day, no, you can just get through it. If you're having, trouble in school, it's because you're not putting in the effort. And a lot of times, the things that we see on the surface are just that, they're surface. There's something underlying that we are not allowed to actually, go in and analyze and figure out what's going on. And for me, as an athlete, it was all about, next play. What we've been taught is just, again, you persevere, you don't process. You don't get the opportunity to process how you're feeling or what you're feeling, because you're just taught to move past it. And again, me with sports being a critical part of my life, it was always, again, next play. If you had a bad moment, it didn't matter, you have another play. And I think that has permeated into my life, because that's how I pursue things. If I have a bad moment in business, next play. But sometimes you need to sit, you need to understand how you feel, and you need to have others be able to pour into you and let you know, if they see something wrong or something you can do better.
Yeah, I love analogies, man, and we played sports growing up. Me and Curtis played everything growing up. And I think about you fall down, mom, dad, get up, boy, dust yourself off, keep going, right? And that has been the energy that most young Black men have been taught with, whether you had your dad in the home, which I was fortunate or not, or if you were raised with a strong Black mother, you're taught to get up, dust yourself off. The fallacy in that is that even in sports, if you get out and you make a bad play on the field, there's tape. You go back and you review the tape. You understand and learn from the process of what you did wrong, how you felt when you did wrong. So when we have this idea of, and we tell our children, our young men in particular, not to address how they feel, we're actually training them incorrectly in any other way you're trained to do anything else, where you review what happened, you talk about how you feel, you express that. But it's this idea that emotion makes you weak. Having emotion makes you soft. And I think that's gotten us to the place where so many young men are really challenged and struggling because they don't know how to express themselves, whether it's frustration, sadness, anxiety, anger. We're taught that if you have emotion, you're soft, something's wrong with you. Right. And I think that was problematic. I was actually really blessed to have men around me who expressed emotion in healthy ways. I think I compartmentalized everything else from the world around me. I didn't pay enough attention to them. Because when I got older, I said, I got to do this way because the world says this is what you need to do to be successful.
Yeah. I'll say this, man. I think one of the things that is difficult, is that you're not taught to actually label the emotion you're feeling, right? So that's just, Tarver has a temper, or whatever, right? Tarver is angry. Every emotion, you know, if it's angry, there's something underneath that. Why am I angry? What am I actually upset about? What is troubling me? And so when you don't get to the root of that, you know, then you respond in a way of like, okay, I gotta work on my temper. Yeah. But what about all this unresolved trauma and things along those lines? This was last, maybe Father's Day, 2024, excuse me. And I'm talking to my daughter and she's like, Dad, you never cry. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I do. I'm not a typical cry every day type of a person or whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure I do. She's like, no, I've never seen you cry. Mm-hmm. So you have to imagine she's seen me go through a divorce. She's seen me lose people, all those things. And I'm like, man. So I took her to New York for her birthday. She wanted to go to Broadway. And man, we went and had a great trip. We came back home. Like 2 days later, I was sitting downstairs and I thought about how moving it was to have her in that moment. Yeah. And I started to cry. Yeah. I said, Charlie, come downstairs right now. We gotta see this. Right. And I feel like since that time, I don't know if it's been 5 times, 10 times, or whatever else, but I know over the course of the last year, I have just cried, whether it's in church and I feel the spirit or whatever, but I've cried and it's felt like our relationship has changed because I'm you know, protect, provide, all those things, but at the same time, sweetheart, I'm human. Yeah. I feel what you feel. And so now she doesn't have to feel as nervous about coming to me in a certain state because she's like the strongest person in her mind that I know also cries. So it matters.
It takes a lot to be vulnerable in front of your kids in those moments like that too. You know, they see you as Superman. They see you as, you know, you never crying. I don't know if she took that as you're such a strong person or what, but for you to be able to allow them to see that emotion, like Jeff said, I never really saw my dad cry. I mean, he was present. My parents were present all over, but I never saw emotion. I didn't know whether my parents were on good terms or bad terms. I just didn't see it, you know? So for me, if there was never a point where it was even discussed about being emotional.
But then I think what ends up happening is then you only see one side of things, right? And then you say, well, as a man, I must not cry as well. I remember going to my grandmother's funeral and seeing like my uncles, like not crying, like come on.
Right.
You know, yeah, she had 90, you know, plus good years, but that has to hurt. Yeah. That has to hurt, you know? So what about you? What messaging did you get?
You know, I'm thinking about Miss Mayfield, my music teacher in elementary school. She taught us this song. It's all right to cry. Crying gets the sadness out of you. It's all right to cry. It might make you feel better. But at the same time, as a kid, I would cry. You know, my mother would be like, oh, I'll give you something to cry about. Or, you know, you're a big bowl of water, you know, hold it together. But being able to process feelings and not be stereotyped or emasculated, if you will, particularly as Black men, is cool or is necessary, if you will, to, you know, be affirmed in spaces, be it school, be it church, more specifically your family, where it's what's going on, understanding the context of your feelings and feeling okay or knowing it's appropriate to process that.
How do you, anybody, define emotional strength today? And how has it changed over time? We know what messaging you got growing up. So how has that changed over time?
Man, I'm so grateful to work with young people. I learn from them every day. And this group of young people in the last 5 to 7 years is so different. They express emotion in ways that are very healthy. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, y'all a little too healthy. But I appreciate the fact that they, the kids that I work with, many of the students at Chicago Scholars, especially in the pandemic, would come to us and ask, like, I know something's wrong and I need help. And they were strong enough to do that. And you know, we have a good team. We've got social workers and counselors on our staff to be able to support them in ways that are healthy and to edify them in that. But in seeing like young people do that, young men do that, like I'm like, that's strength. To know that you need support, to know that you need help, to know that something's off and you're looking for it and you're able to verbalize that. It's different. I remember,
and willing to do so. I mean,
and willing to.
It's one thing to have the ability to do it. It's
That's
another
right.
thing to actually go and verbalize it to
That's
somebody.
right. I remember I was 27, man. I remember the year because I remember I was working in pharma. I hated my job. Dating somebody I probably shouldn't have been dating. Money wasn't right. I'm struggling to keep a house and a car and things together. And we would play basketball. We had this gym we go to every week. And every time I'm playing ball, man, I'm getting into it with people. And you talked a little bit about like the context of emotion. And at the time, I couldn't identify why I was angry. I just knew I was angry. And I think about our kids now, like they will come and say, this is what I need. I wish then I was strong enough to know and be able to identify that and had the tools.
Yeah.
I don't think I had the tools to be able to do it, but I see strength now as like these young people who are willing and able to verbalize that they need support.
You mentioned, I think about our freshman year of high school, all those years ago, and going into that new environment, and it was not predominantly Black, right? So it's just, and we did not have the most resources. And so being in that environment, I think there were a lot of times now that we talking, that we were just upset, probably because we had less, you know. So it's funny to hear you come full circle and now you're working with high school students and able to say, hey, look at, you know, what they're able to do. So that's positive. What about any of you? How do you define emotional strength today and how has it changed over time?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So I think I have to answer it by talking first about a structure. I think I'm really blessed to have a good network around me, both family and friends, that I can confide in when things are challenging and difficult.
Sure.
I think in the past, probably one of the most pivotal lessons I learned was from a dear friend who passed away. I was a young man at the time, doing some things I shouldn't have been doing. Sure. Using some things to help mask and manage emotions. And my dear friend shared these words with me. Hey man, it's all right to be sad. It's all right to feel down. And just sit with those feelings, man. But then, you know, like the weather in Chicago, it's not gonna linger forever, man. It's gonna change. But then I also think over time that I've come to a better understanding that I can better deal with my emotions based on external things and also internal things by relying on my faith in God, man.
Okay.
Bottom line, knowing that in my spiritual walk, in my spiritual journey, I can access a higher power that gives me peace, that gives me joy, and promises me, I'm gonna get you through the struggle. Sit still. It's gonna be all right. So I think that's my answer.
You must have read the next question. What role has therapy, brotherhood, spirituality, or even creative outlets played in your healing journey? I think you just covered at least 3 of the 4. So anybody want to jump in?
For me, therapy has kind of been taboo. It was not until this year I've actually even sat with a therapist, and it was in my marriage. Not that I had issues in a marriage, we just needed help with communication. Going to therapy was not something that I had even considered. You know, even when she presented it to me, I told her, I don't need somebody else to tell me about you or myself. So I was kind of against it. But going to that therapist opened up so many avenues of communication with my wife and just in general that I know now that it's probably a good idea if I went and saw a therapist on my own. And the people I've confided in, my brotherhood, my network, have been instrumental in letting me know that that is okay. You know, even, you know, hearing you say, I go see a therapist, and you said I'm going to see a therapist. That's strength to me, for you to understand that you needed that help. And I think just being in a place and your people around you allowing you to be safe is probably one of the most pivotal things for me.
I'm going to answer the question as well, but I'm going to start by saying this. I think part of what was important for me, we talk about strength. Sometimes you don't know how many people are watching you. So if you don't open up and say, hey, A, B, and C, you don't know how many people you're adversely affecting.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it just felt important. There's a time where there's nowhere in the world, even just amongst us, let alone the people who are gonna view this, I'm gonna talk about therapy and a divorce and a prescription and my daughter, right? But the reality of it is not doing so is really a disservice. Whether one person sees it and says, you know what, I went through something similar. You know what, I'll give it a shot. That could be you, that could be anybody, whatever. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth it. One thing that really helped me over the years, we have to get back to it, is we used to do breakfast. Just get the folks together for breakfast, folks from all different, walks of life, just having a conversation. And then you realize that, it's 20, 30 people here, and some of us are going through the same thing at the same exact time. So it really has been a brotherhood for me, in addition to therapy, in addition to spirituality. But I think what's unique for me is that I was not looking for any new friends.
Right.
I didn't go to law school looking for a friend, especially not when we're in a Harvard bow tie on the first day. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go to Springfield looking for friends, and all those things. And I now have that network, and look, and we can have these conversations today. So I feel incredibly blessed. What about you?
Therapy has been a blessing to me. It was before pandemic, I heard Howard John Wesley, the pastor of Alfred Street Baptist Church in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
Preached this sermon entitled Selah. And he was vulnerable before the congregation and talked about he needed rest. And he was emotional, he shed some tears. And I was like, I need rest too. But it took me, quite honestly, some years to even get settled in my own mind to get a therapist and get on a regimen, where now it's, a regular part of my weekly routine.
Yes.
I'm talking, and if something interferes with that, it just throws everything off. And so, I can't say enough about it, but more specifically, particularly within the context of the Black church, we have overcome the ignorance that, there's nothing the matter with you, just take it to God in prayer, and mental health, that's a thing of the devil, like just a bunch of foolishness. And so even at my church, when I first came, serving now in the Methodist Church, we have itinerancy, and to see that they had a well-pronounced mental health ministry, and not one that was tongue-in-cheek or external facing, but dealing with legitimate mental issues and providing support within the congregation was eye-opening to me.
I'm amazed at some of the conversations in church. It's like, as far as a prescription, that's of the devil, or this, that, and the other. Like, but folks take vitamins every single day. Right. They have an ailment. They'll take ibuprofen.
Right.
It's like you'll go out and walk around the track because you want to drop some weight. You'll diet. You do all these things. You do everything else but talk about what's upstairs. Which is, I don't know. It's just kind of amazing to me.
And like anything else, right? If you don't care for it, the effects and the symptoms of it will manifest in different ways. So with your mental health, man, like people don't realize like this is all connected. And we've got far too many brothers out here with high blood pressure, with cholesterol issues, either masking things with substances or other addictions, women, gambling, all these things that are all tied to how we process and how we deal with our internal health. So like, I'm like you, man, like if you do all these other things, why wouldn't you do this?
Right.
And it's just interesting, being a leader of a church, the church has always been where people turn to, you having marriage problems, you go talk to the pastor. You having money problems, you go talk to the pastor. So to hear you speak about you as a leader of a church also seeking therapy, that's powerful, because a lot of people, they think you are the therapist as the pastor of the church. And yes, you can help them in some ways, but you don't have all the tools, you know, and the methods to really, once their faith runs out, what do you do after that?
Nah, man, I think we're touching on some really important things.
Yeah, you know, I just want to follow up a little bit, man. Yeah. I mean, so whether it's the Black community or the Black church, right? I mean, let's just get to the external first, right? We live in a system where there's racism.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's systemic racism. There's microaggressions when you're standing in the line at the grocery store, when you're picking up your rental car, when you're headed to the seat on the plane, right? Yeah. And so I'm not positing, I'm not suggesting that is a different, well, it's a different experience from what other people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? When you're driving down the street, we've all had that feeling where you see a police car behind you, and you got your insurance papers, you got your license, but then the hair goes up on the back of your neck, right? I mean, it's stressful. So, you know, we all deal with certain levels of stress. A lot of people deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. And so there is a necessity to understand what that is. Yeah. There is a necessity to seek professional help, to be able to process that. I also, you know, tying this all in, there is strength in being vulnerable. In our spiritual life, you know, at the highest state, we are being vulnerable with God. God puts people around us, the right people, not everybody, but the right people to be vulnerable with, man. And when we talk about therapy, it's so important to understand how certain things trigger you or cause you to act in a certain way. And again, I can't say it enough, man, recognizing patterns and how you fall into certain patterns that are unhealthy and how you need to learn how to do things differently, man.
Yeah. One of the things, you know, in pattern recognition was like also being cognizant of the things you ingest. And I don't mean food.
Yeah, of course.
I mean things that television. I had a bad habit, man, of many years turning on TV every morning and turning to CNN or whatever news network, especially after after a certain individual was elected. Yeah, sure. Right? And I was watching and I would leave the house upset. Then somebody cuts me off in the car and I'm upset. And I'm like, I have to change this. I have to change the behavior because I've created a pattern of walking around trying to calm my nerves and being upset in the morning. So you ask the question, like, what are the things? Like for me, prayer and painting are like non-negotiables. And I've had to make, you know, to some degree, fight with my calendar to make those things and working out non-negotiables to Aaron, like every day. Because if I don't, I'm not showing up in a way in my best self. And I've been grateful to have brothers. You asked about what do brothers do? You're one of them around me who will call me on, hey man, you might be doing a little too much. Like sometimes we take on so much in the roles that we have and the roles that we have in with our jobs and our families that we can like put ourselves in an unhealthy position. So recognizing pattern recognition is something that's been really positive for me and understanding how these patterns affect me through the day and affect the work and the things that I need to do and trying to accomplish the goals that I have.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton, inviting you to tune in for a new episode of Behind the Confident Smile with my guest, Rosie Drumgoole, where we'll discuss what it's like to be a CEO of an impactful Chicago nonprofit and a mother. Tune in on CAN-TV Cable Channel 19 or stream online at cantv.org or on the CAN-TV Plus app. Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
When you commit to authentic voices, when you trust powerful stories, recognition follows. 2 Emmy nominations, the first in our history. Stream the Emmy-nominated programs now on cantv.org or on the CAN-TV Plus app. CAN-TV, Experience the power of community television.
It's so important to know yourself, right? Because like even as of late, I've had to switch prescriptions. And like for a long period of time, when I got back on my prescription, I didn't even tell my psych, but I'm like waking up drowsy, man, like no matter what time I take this prescription. But I'm just like, well, he knows best. He prescribed it for me. Instead of being like, hey man, I don't know if this is working, right? And the reason why that's important is I'm like you, I have to get up, I have to run, I have to work out, I have to do something because I need to feel a sense of accomplishment early on in the day. And then that builds up for the rest of the day. So here I am like with all the tools, doing all the right things, but not advocating for myself, right? Which gets back to, again, talking about the childhood piece and not knowing how to label things. You can extrapolate that to other areas of your life. So, but I'm with you, I have to work out. I box now, and there's something about somebody you know can beat the crap out of you, telling you what to do. When you're in a situation where like, I don't have a boss, I have my own law firm. Somebody being there and pushing you, and you start to learn though, really, how to check things, right? Because again, you can get upset and try to pull that card, but you're gonna be on your back very, very quickly, whatever. So, but what about you guys?
The patterns, particularly within the community context, but in the family context, I had a really interesting experience this summer at a family reunion that, if I could be very honest, kind of was a family reunion gone bad, but good at the same time. So for us, family reunions, you know, we've gone to the White House together, we've gone to Philadelphia, we've done the tours, and the family members who used to organize our family reunions have now transitioned. And so it's now down at the level of my age group, and we're taking on the baton. So we are looking to do some lofty things. So in essence, we came together this summer in Virginia, and there was no itinerary, like what are we doing this day, the family cookout. It was a family meeting for what we're gonna do next year. But in that family meeting, it came out that we need to get to certain people because they haven't been talking, but when we really started processing, the lack of attention to mental health issues in our family had not gone addressed, and we were mislabeling it as, you know, this person has a problem with this person, they're not talking, but we had not done the necessary arguably genetic research to find out how these issues were surfacing now, a generation or two down the line. And so with that, we could talk about church, community as well, but even holding our kinfolk accountable to say, hey, mental health is important, it's necessary, but more specifically, what are the recurring patterns, or what are the gene issues that we're not talking about? So
that's a difficult conversation. I don't mean to pry, but like, how did you all start to have that conversation?
Well, you know, we were sitting around a table, and I felt compelled to, you know, share some experiences that I had with some of my family members recently, whereby the diagnosis of bipolar disorder had come out. And, you know, just I don't want to say the coincidence, but the trend, if you will. And I felt compelled to share because certain people weren't showing up, and there's like, oh, we need to go get this person. I was like, there's some backstories that you may not know about. Come to find out, when we all got to talking, they knew about it, but we weren't connecting, and we weren't speaking forthrightly about it. And so it was a cathartic moment because, you know, even though we didn't have all the activities, there were some aha moments of, you know, now we know some things and we could communicate better, but more specifically go and have some conversations within our respective tree lines just to understand some of those issues that have manifested themselves.
We've talked a lot about like kind of what works for us, and you all still feel free to jump in if you like, but we should also go to what our struggles are still, what hurdles are still getting in the way, what obstacles do we have, you know, whether we talk about going to work out and things along those lines. But what's still getting in the way? What's holding things up?
Man, I get in my own way all the time.
Say it again?
I get in my own way all the time.
Sure.
And I say that to say, like, I have a bad habit of identifying, my identity is so tied to what I do. I was in the Obama Fellowship this year and they got us a coach, and I picked a coach that was really focused on mental health and wellness. And she asked me, she's like, who are you? And I went right to what I do. Not even the job title, but like, I'm a servant of God, I'm a this, I'm a that. She said, no, who are you? Like at the core of who you are and your being, everything stripped away, who are you? And I struggled to answer that.
I think all of us do.
And I'm still struggling to answer that. Yeah. And what I found that I do in this, you know, capitalistic society we're part of is that I'm real good at layering things and building things. And so I just build something else to do instead of sitting with the things that I need to sit with myself and understanding who I am, what actually makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that I'm really bad at is like, I don't celebrate wins at all, bro. I just stack them. I just keep going.
Yeah.
I get this thing, next thing. I get this thing, next thing.
And that's funny because you stack the wins, next thing. When you're a child, it's, you know, something bad happens. Next thing, next thing, whatever. It's funny to see that connection. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I mean, and I think that those things are part of the challenge. The other thing too is we talk a little bit about it is no one prepares you for the generational shift in your life. Your parents get older, grandparents leave, it just happens. And we are expected to figure out how to navigate that. So when I hear you talk about family, like I'm in a place where I'm watching my parents age and God, grateful that they're still here. But in 18, man, I lost both grandparents, all my uncles. In 1 year, I went to like 11, 12 funerals. And I compartmentalized that loss and just getting back to work the next thing. And so what I've been working on now, and part of it is therapy, is like, how to handle grief, how to deal with aging, how to deal with the changing relationships that come with that, and how to really understand who I am and what makes me happy through all of that, while still having to do the performance side of the things that I have to do every day.
I'm guilty of telling you what I don't like, but I'm you're like, what do you like? Well, I don't like these 99 things. What do you like? Not those 99 things. Right. So I feel you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the things I struggle with is just making sure that if I need a moment, I take that moment. It's really hard for me.
What does that look like?
Sometimes it's doing nothing, you know, because the day starts, you know, I'm up 4:30, going to the gym, it's regimented, and you know, you got kids and you got the business and then you have a wife and then you have everything else. It's all regimented, and sometimes you need all those things are pulling at you and you just need to sit and do absolutely nothing. Yes, and make sure that you are cognizant that yes, these are blessings, and yes, you need to continue to work on those blessings, but you also just need to take a breath.
Man.
And if you don't take that breath and that overwhelming feeling, that anxiety, this is pulling at you. Where's this money coming from? You know, I have this sports event. I have my wife who says she loves me, but does she really love me? You know, those things are pulling at you. And you have to be okay with sometimes just doing nothing. And that's what I struggle with. I always feel like something needs to be done.
It's funny, man, when you, sorry.
No, I was just gonna jump in right quick, man. You're absolutely right. Both of you brothers, all of you, right. And I'm just trying to connect some dots here for myself personally. You know, having that downtime, because we're so wired to just grind, to hustle, to grind, to hustle. Even when, you know, you're starting your day in a manner in which you're describing, because it's probably a similar thread, we're all starting the morning in a very disciplined way. But it's so important just to find downtime, man. And in fact, I mean, I'm gonna say it, I think it's biblical, right? I mean, the Lord took time to rest. And I think if we don't find moments, whether it's in the day or every 2 weeks or within a month, to just find time to be still, man. Because we're always running, grocery store, you know, this, that, the other.
I my daughter was out of town with her mom she's with her mom for a week. I was supposed to start trial that same day they were leaving. Case settled. I'm like, I gotta go somewhere, do something. We had a conversation. And I came back home a little bit early. I walked in the house and my dog was still boarded. I was like, I don't really want to spend this money for this dog to be boarded. Yeah, that dog's gonna stay boarded. Honestly, I wanted to feel no responsibility. Like zero responsibility. I don't even want to walk the dog today. I just want to do nothing or everything, but I don't want to have to talk to anybody about it. And so I definitely feel you on the need for rest. What do you think the stigma around mental health, do you think the stigma around mental health is so strong in our community?
I think it just goes back to being a strong Black man, and a strong Black person. We are, as a people, have just had to push through everything. We can't allow, our social status to keep us down, our skin color to keep us down, our economic status to keep us down. We have to find a way. So, when you are not able, or people look at you and you're not able to push through those things and they see you as weak, then you feel judged.
Oh, absolutely.
You feel that judgment falling upon you, and nobody, some people can say, I don't care what other people think, but are you being honest with yourself? So the honest thing about it is, if you show that you're mentally weak and you think other people are judging you in that moment, then nobody wants to feel that way. So we shy away from even letting people know that I'm sad, or that I'm not doing too well mentally, and we just push through.
I think we perish for lack of knowledge. We don't know what we don't know, and to move through life not understanding the necessity for quality mental health, or that there is this notion of mental health. I mean, out the womb, we start in a hospital, arguably, for the majority of us. And so you have your checkups, you have your shots, your vaccinations, because we don't want children and people to be a detriment to others from a physical standpoint. But we don't begin to talk about mental health systemically until it becomes a personal problem. There's no curriculum around that. We're not going to camp and saying, hey, we'll say put on your thinking caps, but how are you feeling today? Are you hot, cold, red, green? Those are exercises that we learn when we're adults working in corporate America. But we don't know.
What do you all think it'll take to change that stigma? I mean, you're talking about a lack of knowledge, so it seems like that's one thing.
Education.
What are, or even piggybacking on that, what are other things that you all think it might take to change the stigma?
I just think overall the stigma around the medical field itself in the Black community is flawed. We look at hospitals as a negative thing, or we might not have access to them. So I think people just need to recognize there are people that look like us in those spaces. You just need to seek them out. And if you don't seek them out, you don't know. It's like you said, a lack of knowledge. So I think them recognizing, or people recognizing that there are people that look like us in these spaces that you can feel safe to go talk to, and it doesn't have to be somebody of another race. I think a lot of people would be, better equipped to go and actually have those conversations.
I think you talked about it earlier, like the breakfast that we had back in the day was a space for Black men to have emotional safety. We didn't call it that. We didn't know that's what it was, but we would show up, and brothers, whether they were starting a company or going through job changes, going through divorce, having their first child, it created a space of emotional safety to have this dialogue. And I think that we just need to figure out, find, and fight for more of those spaces. Can't just be the barbershop, can't just be the cigar bar. Those are great too, but sometimes it should involve not having to do an activity. We should be able to come together and have conversation and dialogue.
All right, this one, nobody gets exempted from. Everybody has to answer the question. Let's try to keep it to like maybe a minute or less. But if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, you knew it was coming, about emotional wellness, what would you say?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you very much. I'll kick it off. If I can give myself one piece of advice, it would be the very cliche, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
To an extent. At the point that you know you're not okay, right, then you got to do something about that. And to choose healthy outlets. To a point that's been made by several brothers today, I know for a fact I put my life on autopilot and just did things, right? Just to not have to sit still in my own house, right? Not to sit still and deal with my own issues. And so I would tell myself, it's okay not to be okay, but you gotta go find a way to get okay, to get to okay.
I got it. I was gonna say that, and I'm glad I didn't.
Okay.
I'm glad you went first.
Okay.
But as you talked, I got a call from a mentor recently. He opened the call with, Jeff, it's okay to put your mask on first. And he went to the airplane analogy. You go on a plane and the oxygen mask comes down. Before you help everyone else, you gotta help yourself first. And I think, again, just transparently, I've been really bad about that. Like, I will sacrifice my time, my energy, my money for everybody else's. Because when you do work and you work in service, and I'm sure everybody here understands that, you often are last. So I forget to eat. I sacrifice my time for working out. I'm not spending that much time to rest, just doing nothing. And I would tell my younger self, it's okay to put your mask on first. There's no guilt in that. You're not responsible for the world. You're responsible for you.
Yeah. Let's hit it.
Enjoy the moment.
Ooh.
Enjoy the moment.
Okay.
And
that sounds like count it all joy.
Yeah. But also, embrace your passions. Try to tune into your vocation, the calling. But you don't have to measure up to other people.
Okay.
You're fine
Sure.
the way that you are, and
That's a word.
surround yourself with people who appreciate you for who you are.
All right, Neil, Josh, one of you have the last word. Let's go.
Man, so I would just tell myself that failure and roadblocks are okay, and not to beat myself up for those. To understand that it's part of the process, and seeking perfection is a downfall because you'll never be perfect.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm struggling because I would tell myself a whole lot. I would tell myself a whole lot, man. But I think maybe in a word is just be still, right? You don't have to fill with emptiness with things, with peoples, with activities, and you just learn to be at peace with yourself. Learn to be comfortable being by yourself, quiet with yourself, and using that space to be contemplative, man. Like, be quiet and listen. I mean, really, ultimately, maybe it's at this stage is being quiet and being able to listen to God, listen to the Holy Spirit. But younger self, just always trying to fill the empty spaces, man. Whether it's a woman, whether it's activities, whether it's friends, whether it's being in places that are unhealthy. Just being calm enough to be confident in being still.
I'll say this as we have to wrap up. What I gather from all of that is really to be and not simply perform. I think that's what everything you all are saying kind of resonated with me. Whether it's sitting still, just being, but not simply performing for performance sake. So, appreciate you, brothers. It's been amazing. I'm looking forward to this journey.
Same.
I needed it more than I knew, by the way.
Same.
Different perspectives is always refreshing. You can have phone conversations and text messages, but to see and to interact and actually see the emotion on everybody's faces is powerful.
Yeah, well, I'm also just gonna echo, man. I mean, just the organic overlap is incredible, man.
All right. Thank you all, man. Really appreciate each one of you brothers.
All right.
For more than 40 years, CAN TV has been Chicago's voice, your voice. We've shared your stories, amplified your concerns, and celebrated your triumphs. Now we want to hear from you. What programs matter most? What issues should we cover? How can we better serve your community? Visit cantv.org/feedback today. CAN TV. Experience the power of community television.
I'm Gregory Smith.
And I'm Darius Silman.
On the next Petty and Profound, we'll take a closer look at what happens when reality TV becomes reality.
We'll also pull back the curtains on the super spreading and uber contagious personality type, the energy vampire.
Tune in Wednesday at 7 p.m. on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream live on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app.
Elevated conversation and storytelling. Experience the power of community television.
Tonight's conversation was a reminder that healing is not a destination. It's a journey that begins when we as Black men give ourselves permission to feel, to name our pain, and to seek support without shame. What we discussed tonight, depression, anxiety, trauma, therapy, healing, are not signs of weakness. They're acts of strength. In a world that demands our silence, choosing to speak up is a radical act. The truth is, we are not alone. There are resources, there is community, and there is power in vulnerability. As one of our brothers said tonight, you can't grow what you won't confront. So wherever you are on the mental health journey, know this: your story matters, your healing matters, and your wholeness is not just possible, it's necessary. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself and for each other.